Hello, everybody, and welcome to the UFC 257 preview. I'm here with Jackson McCarty. How you doing, Jackson?
I'm doing great, Mason. How about you, bud?
I'm doing good. We were just talking about the Vermont weather. It's freaking cold out there, but you're in Florida. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, I am originally from Paragould, Arkansas. I moved down to Florida for college, Winter Park, just outside Orlando. And I'm currently getting to enjoy the 75 degrees weather or so while I'm studying my sportscasting degree, while my buddy Mason here is not quite suffering the same fate.
That's right. And so it's good that we got Jackson with us because usually it's just me alone. We got someone who's studying sportscasting, so he actually knows what he's doing. I'm here as the film student just pretending, so I'm
Hey,
happy to have you here with me.
at this point, we're both just pretending. I think I've got better tips at it, I guess.
That's right. That's right. All right. So UFC 257, pretty nice card. I mean, it's a Conor McGregor card, so we're very excited about that. But what are your initial thoughts on this card?
Initially, it seems top heavy. I will admit, it seems like those two lightweight fights, we're looking at them and you're like, okay, those are the money fights. But the growing disdain that Joanne Calderwood has for Jessica I is going to be fun to watch. And it feels like a lob here, but Otman Azater, I don't know if I'm saying that right. I apologize. But it feels like they're just giving him a showcase, and I cannot wait to watch it.
They did that not too long ago. I want to say Phil Hawes had a fight a couple months back. I forget what card it was on, but I was looking at that matchup and I'm like, they're just trying to get him a first round knockout. It seems like that's what they're trying to do here as well.
It almost seemed like that with Kevin Holland not too long ago. They seemed ready to go with Kevin Holland, and they said, you know what, let's give him the opportunity to put some highlight reel on.
Yeah. So this might be one of those cards where those fights that you're not necessarily looking forward to end up being better than the co-main event and the main event.
Yeah, 100%. Because it's one of those situations where it's like, oh, I'll just keep this on while I'm making food or while I'm just kind of hanging out talking to my friends. And you redirect your eyes to the TV, and then boom, somebody's lights just got knocked out.
Oh man, I'm looking forward to it. Whenever there's a McGregor card, for like MMA fans, it just kind of seems like the Super Bowl. Like for MMA fans, like whether you like the guy or not, whether you want to see him get knocked out or knock someone out in the first round, it's just a special moment.
That's the weird part, because he has so many fans and so many haters that we can all just kind of collectively show up and watch the brutality ensue.
Yep.
And I'll admit that I was on the wrong side of the fence. There's a tweet, if you get on my Twitter, where I predicted Cowboy was going to beat him, which I'm not proud of, I will admit. But this time around, I'm going to be a little bit more generous as to who I'm picking in that fight.
Yeah, I think I forget what I officially picked, but I definitely saw a case where Cowboy was winning that fight, and it just did not happen. I was rooting for him though. I certainly was rooting for him.
He's a walking legend, man. He's too hard. He's so lovable.
For
You know,
sure.
he's free spirited.
Yeah, he's my dad's number one favorite fighter. My dad always gets a beer, watches Cowboy Cerrone fights. So
Hey, your dad sounds like he's living the life right there. I'll
that's
tell you
right.
that.
That's right. That's what it's all about. Now we're gonna talk about the co-main event and main event here, but let's just quickly run through some of these other fights that are on this main card and just give our quick predictions on the fight. The first one we got is Marina Rodriguez versus Amanda Ribas. This is actually a really, really fun fight. Rodriguez has some really, really good striking. She recently lost to Carla Esparza. But Amanda Ribas is on the rise. How do you see that fight playing out?
I like Hebas's chances. I will admit I'm not too particularly invested in this fight, which that actually gives both of these fighters a much better chance of stealing my heart.
Yep.
Because if I don't have a dog in the fight, it makes it so much easier to watch from a subjective standpoint. I'm not rooting like a bettor. I'm not rooting like a fan. I just get to root.
Yep.
And I think Hebas, excuse me, is going to win off unanimous decision most likely. If she can get it to the ground, it's over.
Mm-hmm.
But don't doubt Rodriguez's stand-up game. Her Muay Thai is lethal.
I'm gonna agree with you on this one. I was watching that Esparza Rodriguez fight, and It was basically the same thing. Esparza wanted to take it to the ground. Rodriguez wanted to keep it standing. And if it stays standing, Hebos is going to have some issues. I mean, Hebos is good on the feet, but the ground game is what she's going to want to make this on this Saturday. So I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to take Hebos via submission. I could see it going to a decision as well, though.
Yeah, I'm excited for these two specifically because it's that kind of dream combination of one's really good and can knock your lights out, one's really good and can just suffocate you on the mat, and it's a match made in heaven, really.
For sure, definitely. And it's a kind of a win-win for the UFC because whoever does win this, you're gonna have so many eyes on them, and it's just a good scenario for them to create another star in women's MMA.
100%. Any card that has Conor McGregor is going to make somebody a star.
Yep.
The amount of eyes that you're getting on you at all points in time, it's perfect to get on there and just show what you're worth.
And it's making me think of UFC 229 when you had Derek Lewis. When are we going to have my balls was hot moment, at UFC 257? Who's going to be the one to step up and really just put it on the line like that?
We need somebody to do it. I'm hoping one of these two women can do it. Like if my prediction holds true, it'll be Hebos doing it. But Derek Lewis has made a whole lot of money off of my balls is hot. Okay. Maybe one of these lovely ladies will be able to pull it off.
An Instagram star for sure. Next, we talked about a little bit Azatar versus Frivola. Definitely butchered those names. I think we're both picking Azatar for this one.
Yeah, but we might have a bit of a differentiation. What round do you think Azatar's taking it?
I think he's gonna come out like a bat out of hell and finish him in the first round. But that's my prediction. What are you thinking?
So that's reasonable. He's got, of his 2 UFC fights he's got right now, they were both in the first round. Neither one of them saw the 4th minute.
Wow.
I think Frivola has a little bit better of a chance. I'm going to give him till the second, but whenever that second bell rings, I think it's done for.
Okay. Now, again, we talked about Jessica Eye versus Joanne Calderwood. How do you see that fight playing out?
I will admit I was not impressed or excited about that fight, and not because I don't like how these two fighters fight. It's more or less just because it didn't really seem, they were both coming off of losses, wasn't very enticing. Now we're seeing Calderwood come out and be like, you know what? She missed weight in her last fight against Shevchenko, I believe. And I would have been on weight. Excuse me, it was Cavillo. I would have been on weight. Right. I would have been able to fight, and I would have knocked her out. And you can tell that it really does bother Calderwood. So I think that'll be enough fuel for her to push her over the edge.
It's nice that they have this little grudge match just to make the fight that more enticing. This just kind of proves how deep of a champion Valentina Shevchenko is. I mean, she doesn't have a win over Calderwood because Maya beat Calderwood in order to get that title shot. But Calderwood was next in line to get that, and Jennifer Maya pulled off the win to get it, and then Valentina didn't finish, but beat Jennifer Maya. It's just kind of a good example of looking at that flyweight division and seeing how stacked it is with, Valentina Shevchenko as a champion. And you have these two ladies fighting. And I want to say they both have losses to Calvillo? I believe they do.
Yes, I believe Calderwood lost to Calvillo 3 fights ago. I'm not 100% sure, but that sounds right.
That sounds right. I don't have the numbers in front of me here. But this one's a toss-up for me. It's hard. I see it going to a decision. None of them are necessarily finishers, but
right. Yeah, I don't think I can predict in my conscience either one of them finishing, because it just feels like you're taking, or the house is gonna take your money on that one.
Yeah,
like, because neither one of these women really have a track record of ending the fight before the refs can.
All right. It's time to get into the co-main event. This is one I think we're both really excited for. Dan Hooker versus Michael Chandler. Talk about it, Jackson.
I'll tell you what, I am more excited for this fight than I am for the main event, because I absolutely love Dan Hooker's style of fighting, and I'm so excited to see what Iron Mike Chandler is capable of outside of Bellator.
I agree 100%. I don't know if I'm more excited for this one, but it's very, very, very close. Um, Dan Hooker's a gamer. He's there to fight. There's an argument that Dan Hooker's underrated because he's so well rounded. And the thing about Dan Hooker that I feel like the dude knows how to win fights. He
Yeah.
knows when to take it to the ground. He knows when to stand up and strike. And I think if he stands with Michael Chandler and Michael Chandler chooses to stay on the feet, I think that's going to be a big problem.
The only issue I really see with Hangman's fighting style is he lets people just take shots at his head, but he's got a titanium jaw. Like it's not bothering him. He just took the main event, Dustin Poirier, to 5 rounds last time we saw him. Normal men, normal mortals don't just do that. Dan Hooker is a different level of beast that Iron Mike Chandler shouldn't be used to.
And it sounds like he has a change of mental strategy going into this as well. I caught an interview where he was talking about he's been in this game for so long. He's like the team leader of the team in New Zealand that he trains in. He's got Volkanovski, who joined the UFC after him, and he's got Israel Adesanya, who joined the UFC after him, who are both champions. He's still waiting to get that gold strap, but it sounds like he doesn't want to be as much of a finisher. If the finish is there, he'll take it, but otherwise he's going to try to fight smart and win the fight.
I think a lot of that comes off the heels of Volkanovski specifically, because we just saw how he fought Holloway and he kept his distance. The first time he won the gold, he just destroyed Holloway's leg, which was just genius.
Yep.
And the second time he held on by a limb, but it was because of that smart way that he fights that he was able to keep his gold. So in many ways, he might be kind of the leader of the New Zealand fight corps over there, but he is very much learning from his so-and-so student.
Definitely. And before I'm gonna say this because if I don't, then you're gonna have a bunch of comments talking about Holloway beat Volkanovski. That was a very, very close fight. Yes, I did score it for Holloway personally, but that is in no way a robbery. It was just a close fight, and it's props to the champ for having the IQ to stay in that fight and try to win those last couple of rounds to stay in this fight.
Yeah, I mean, I had to score Holloway too, but I had a slap bet with one of my buddies that I watch fights with, and I had Holloway for that one. So I'm cool with how they judged him.
Yeah. Yep. Now, I have a very specific vision of how this fight's going to go. I saw a dream yesterday. I may have been under the influence. We won't get into it, but Dan Hooker via knee. I don't know what round. I don't know what the angle's going to be. He's going to land a knee, and he's going to get a vicious KO. He's going to finish Michael Chandler. That's my vision.
If that lands, much like Dan Hooker's knee might land, I hope to come back to this. I'm gonna change your name to Nostradamus in my phone, and that'll become your new gimmick.
There it is.
You'll have to start having those dreams every 4 weeks or so.
When I get predictions right, which is not very often, I like to consider myself Mystic Mason, which I think is fitting for this event. But
very fitting.
People often respond and say that's cringe, but it is what it is.
Hey man, we're here to have fun. We're not here to appease everybody.
Exactly. So how do you see that fight playing out overall? Who do you have winning that one?
I'm going to go with Hooker, a 4th-round TKO. I'm not going to say KO. I think he's going to wear him down, kind of like how you were talking. He's becoming a smarter fighter, and he's going to be able to keep Iron Mike away from the ground, and he's just going to wear him thin. Just take him limb by limb, and eventually he's just going to have to call it quits.
I think Chandler's keys to victory in this fight are getting it to the ground, first of all. And if he has to stay standing, I think he's got to go to the body of Hooker, because Hooker will eat shots up top all day long. But the only time, actually, we've seen him finished a couple times, I want to say, but the only time I remember watching him get finished is Edson Barboza, and he just had vicious body kicks and was able to get him out of there that way. But he's not going out easy.
No, there's no chance. And Hangman has those long, gangly limbs. You're going to have to get inside of him, much like another Iron Mike that we know, Iron Mike Tyson. He was very infamous for getting inside there and just working you. Chandler has to take a page out of that book.
Definitely. All right, it's time for the main event. The notorious Conor McGregor versus Dustin the Diamond Poirier. Talk about it, Jackson. Get into it.
I'm so excited. We have been waiting over 6 years for these two to get back in the octagon, and it's going to happen. It's going to bring in so much money for the UFC, which I'm sure they're plenty excited about.
Yeah.
This might even result in, we know how Dana and Khabib just had their meeting. Whoever wins this, hopefully it's Conor. Maybe we get Conor McGregor V2 and you get another one of those posters to hang up.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Now, do you buy into the thing that Dana White said about Khabib coming back? Like, if you were a betting man, would you put money on Khabib coming back, or do you think he's retired?
I think he will, only because I don't think it has anything to do with what Dana's saying to him. He apparently has already went and talked to his mom and asked if she was okay with him coming back one more time. That alone, and the potential of either Khabib Conor V2 or Khabib GSP, which we heard about, I think that both of those two, it'll be a sense of him being able to shut up the haters and solidify that if he's not the greatest UFC fighter of all time, he's at least the greatest lightweight.
Yeah, I would agree with that. In that GSP potential fight, I know GSP's getting up there in age, but I'm still praying for that. I'd rather that than, I wanted that more than Tony versus Khabib back in the day, but
yeah, which we'll probably never get.
Never. Definitely not, unfortunately.
Which, what a shame. I will tell you, I think that if GSP returns, he will fare a lot better than what we just saw from Anderson Silva. Because that Uriah Hall fight, that crushed some of the child inside of me.
Yeah, that's tough to watch, but I want GSP to return. I want to see him selfishly, but at the same time, it's like you have this superhero, you have this person you look up to, your mentor, George St. Pierre, the great one, and then you just don't want to see him fall. You want to see him go out on top and stay on top, but it's a tough situation,
Yeah, I can absolutely feel you. The human inside of me is saying, GSP, please do not step in the ring with Khabib. He's a monster. But the fan inside of me and knowing what that could bring is just so amped up for the possibility.
That's right. All right, I definitely got a sidetracked there. Let's get back to Poirier versus Conor. Now, one thing that's bothering me in the lead up to this fight is how much people are sleeping on Dustin Poirier in this fight. It seems like he's not getting any respect. Of course, I'm using social media as a measurement there, but what do you think about that? Do you have the same feeling?
Yeah, I feel he just stood 5 rounds with Dan Hooker, who is a lethal striker. His gas tank is so much better than what we saw against Conor the first time. He's a real fighter. He hung in there, half a round less than what Conor did versus Khabib. There's not much separation between the talent level. It's just Conor is a much flashier, much more talkative, much more charismatic individual. If this fight makes it past round 3, I think it's DPs.
I agree with that. I think Poirier's got to weather the storm, and I think Conor's going to bring it to him. Conor's a fast starter. In that Cowboy fight showed that Conor seems to even have a little bit of a chip on his shoulder, where I think he sees Masvidal and these guys getting these quick finishes and spectacular things, and he's kind of upset. He's like, hey, have you forgotten about me? And he's already made the prediction that he's going to finish Poirier in 60 seconds. So Poirier's got to be on his heels in that first round, those first 2 rounds. But I think if it makes it to the third, we have a war on our hands. And I think Dustin Poirier does best when he's in a war.
Yeah, if he can utilize his gas tank, if he can make it through that storm like you were talking about in those first 2 rounds, it's going to be very hard to beat him. We've seen Khabib utilize his amazing gas tank against Conor. Conor couldn't keep up. Dustin can do the exact same thing back.
I agree. And I went back and rewatched that Dan Hooker versus Dustin Poirier fight yesterday, actually. By the way, amazing fight. So fun.
If 2020 wasn't so chock full of amazing fights, that would have been fight of the year.
Definitely. And just the composure to be down 2 rounds, know you're down 2 rounds. He knew he either needed a finish or he needed to win the rest of the rounds to do it. He put his foot on the gas pedal and just went to it. And I think that kind of leads into a big problem here in Conor McGregor's favor, and it plays against Dustin Poirier. He's a little bit of a slow starter. He started a bit slow against Dan Hooker. If he does that against Conor, it could be bad news for him.
Yeah, Conor, rumor has it, he's just a floating left hand. Like nobody knows where the rest of his body is. He's willing to drop the thunder on you at any moment in time. And you can't start slow against somebody like that. He'll put your lights out. You won't know what happened to you.
Yeah. And going into it as well, if it is a war, I see it being such a, like, this has serious potential of being an all-time great fight if it just makes it out of those first 2 rounds, because both guys are so creative with their striking. I saw some of the things that Poirier was doing to Hooker, and he started in like round 3. He started doing like chops. He started doing close range kicks to the face. He started doing just a bunch of crazy fence work that I just thought was crazy.
Yeah, he's a magician. And realistically, for Dustin Poirier, he needs a Rocky style victory.
Yeah. And I think he has the makings for it. He's got the chin. He's got the boxing. He's got to weather the storm and bring the fight to McGregor in those later rounds and get that W.
Yeah. And whoever wins out of these two will be solidified and will deserve the belt. Because even if Khabib does come back and let's say he does face GSP, whoever is next has to be the winner of these two.
Yeah.
Has to be.
Now, how do you think they're going to do that? Do you think they'll do winner of Chandler and Hooker versus winner of McGregor and Poirier? I mean, it's hard to say because if Khabib's back, then that's that. But you also got Charles Oliveira and Justin Gaethje waiting in the wings as well.
See, I think Gaethje is the forgotten man here. It's not like he lost to some regular contender and is sliding down the card. He lost to Khabib.
Yeah.
like you don't like who nobody beats Khabib. So I don't understand why he's out of this picture altogether. But with how Dana works, I am nervous to give any prediction because he could come out after the fights and be like, yeah, well, next fight is Khabib versus DP or Khabib versus McGregor. Or he could come out and say, Khabib ain't coming back. We're going to turn this tournament style and we're going to do it how you said. But if they do keep it away from Khabib, I think you have to do a tournament style.
Yeah, I think so too. It almost seems like this is the beginning of the tournament.
Yeah.
I think Oliveira versus Gaethje is another fun matchup. And I agree with what you said, and that actually kind of changed my mind because I'm like, we can't do Gaethje. He just had it. But you're right. The two guys who are fighting in this main event lost to Khabib.
Yeah.
The same thing with Gaethje. And there's just so many fun matchups for the future of this division. If DP gets it done, then maybe we see Justin Gaethje versus DP too. Charles Oliveira versus Conor McGregor. Really, whoever Conor McGregor fights, people are going to watch. Oh, yeah. But what if Charles Oliveira is the guy to beat McGregor? There's so many matchups to go with.
I wish Dana would give up on his hatred for tournaments and just this once give us a lightweight tournament, 8 guys, throw them in there. We'll figure out the rest later. Oh, it'd be magic.
I'm 100% game for that. Now, what is your prediction on this fight?
I want to say Dustin. I really do. But I can't go against Conor twice. And we've been talking about how the 3 is kind of the magic number here. I'm going to say Conor puts him out in the 3rd round.
3rd round. Yeah, I really want to be that hipster and just choose Dustin Poirier. And I respect his skills, but I do have to pick Conor McGregor as well with a quick finish. I'm going to say 2nd round, KO or TKO, one or the other. Usually it's a TKO for McGregor, but.
Yeah, he'll get you on the ground and then just kind of box you around a little bit until the ref's like, okay, we're good here. But I'm excited for it. I'm cheering for Dustin. No matter what my prediction says, I'm cheering for Dustin Poirier.
I'm the same way. I actually put out a poll on my YouTube channel asking who people were rooting for, just out of curiosity, because I feel like hardcore MMA fans generally will root against Conor McGregor, while the more casual fans, not saying it in a negative term, just the people who casually watch it,
Right.
will tend to root for McGregor. I want to say it was like 57% of people were rooting for McGregor on this one, which surprised me a bit, but
Yeah, I was kind of expecting you to say Poirier when you said those numbers.
yeah, but it's just kind of interesting. It'll be a fun watch. I'm curious how this does for pay-per-view buys, just because it is a rematch. It's a McGregor card, and you got a solid co-main event as well. So we'll have to see.
Don't forget what this one could potentially mean for Conor's legacy moving forward for the UFC. Plus, is he going to take that Jake Paul fight? I know it sounds like a joke, but $15 million is $15 million.
Yeah, that's the thing. Where does Conor McGregor go from here? I feel like it's the UFC definitely wants McGregor to win anytime he's in a fight. But is that the best thing for the UFC if Conor McGregor takes a break in? I don't know if he'll fight Jake Paul. Maybe he will. Money talks. But Manny Pacquiao is waiting for him. And it sounds like that's something that's actually could potentially happen. I mean, we saw Conor fight Floyd. Why not go and fight Manny Pacquiao? Conor McGregor loves money.
And hot take, the Conor Pacquiao fight might be a little bit better than Conor Jake Paul.
Definitely.
Maybe just a little bit.
The Jake Paul thing I'm so sick of. I want just Dana to make a deal, give Jake Paul a one fight or a one fight contract, and just have him fight Francis Ngannou.
Oh,
Let it happen, Dana.
God, at this point I'm about ready to say, Dana, you hop in the ring with him.
Seriously.
I'm
Seriously.
done hearing about him.
Yeah. I say that, yeah, I make Logan Paul videos whenever he's calling people out because people click on it. But
People love that. People love the YouTuber boxing scene. KSI and Logan, I think that got more buys than I want to say. What was the last Khabib main that wasn't McGregor?
the one before
Or
Khabib
one for
Gaethje?
Gaethje, excuse me. Yes.
The one before Gaethje. Well, it was Khabib Gaethje, Khabib Poirier, Khabib McGregor, I believe.
I think the Khabib Poirier fight got less buys
Wow.
than the Logan Paul KSI buy. Don't quote me on that. That's something I loosely remember, but I think that those numbers were either really close or the boxing fight passed
The disrespect,
them.
not from you, from us, I guess, from people who buy the fights.
From traditionalists or not traditionalists, the YouTube scene. You
Yeah,
know, it's
I don't have enough like true boxing friends. Like I have a lot of like MMA people, but I'm really curious what true boxing fans think of the Paul brothers and how they've taken over. I like how we started UFC 257 and we've gone to Jake Paul in Logan Paul boxing. We're talking about YouTubers now.
I'll take credit for that one. I brought up the
No,
Jake Paul fight. I'll take full blame on that one,
I
though.
jumped right in with you as soon as you brought it up. I took the bait. But
Hey, and that's exactly why this fight works because people love taking the bait, especially on those YouTubers.
you know, it's the key to success in combat sports. Make people hate you, and people will talk about you.
Conor McGregor knows a thing or two about that.
Yes, he does. UFC 257. It's happening this Saturday. Jackson, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, anytime, man.